Yes, I'm sure. Okay. Son House, my favorite blues artist, once said, define blues this way, and that is, you love somebody and they don't love you back. The worst version of that, though, is when they did and they fall in love with someone else. My first love, Shannon. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. We were everything to each other in college, so much so that our breakup is, or was, a signal event in my life, so that when I didn't get tenure, 10 years later, was falling on my knees, my guts turning to jello, I thought, you got over Shannon, you'll get over this. We met when she was a senior in high school. She was a month older than me, but I'd started at Purdue already. And it was idyllic. She was beautiful, she was smart, she was everything. And before she went on a summertime trip with her friend to go backpacking in France, she wrote on my book bag, "Fuck you, Teske." And I took this as a good sign. Now that summer I worked at a factory and hated it and got a wake-up call that said you have to get your shit together. So that's what I was in the business of doing. But we got together again in the summer, took a solo trip to Brown County Park, took a blanket into the woods, and lost our virginity together. What wonderful, more idyllic thing can you think of? I mean, it's clumsy and stupid and bad, but we did it together. It was the two of us. I remember a discussion with her in my old Rambler about why we didn't just get married. And I was like, well, A, we're 17. B, my dad always said you have to be able to support a family before you get married, and I'm a long way from doing that. We survived anyway. We had this weird mystical relationship. I was having a really bad afternoon one time, and she was going back to home to visit a friend of hers, and she knocks on my dorm room, and she just says, "I thought you needed me." Oh my God, I was saved. It was glorious, it was wonderful. She woke up one morning and said, "I had this dream. Chris and Janice are going to be at this dance tonight, and we'll see them in this hallway." And we did. Now, Chris thought that Shannon was sort of beige, but it still, was validating. Well, my junior year, my father went into the garage and turned on the car, thinking that he'd monoxide himself to death, and then decided not to do that, and instead got 12 shock treatments at a mental hospital in Indianapolis. Kind of does things to your college career. And I'm sure that I was awfully clingy to Shannon during that time, because she started talking about maybe we should see other people. And I said, look, you can, I can't. I really threw myself into my studies, I suppose, a good thing. But the second big crisis, I made a commitment to stay and work on my research for my senior thesis. I was staying, in Bloomington. And her little brother, Joey, who's Down syndrome, dumped her purse on the floor, and her mother, Charlene from Wattsburg, Kentucky, found it and was not happy. She tried to tell us that in her generation, friends helped each other avoid temptation. I was like, well, since the pill, it's kind of the other way around. Well, Shannon decided to go to Martha's Vineyard to stay with a friend for the summer, and I just said, I can't go. She wanted me to go. She said, I'm having family feelings. I still don't know exactly what she meant by that, but I didn't. And she went to Martha's Vineyard. I went and visited the first time. Wonderful, reunion. We got together. It was we had sex on the beach below Gay Head, so it was incredible. But that second time, when I left, I remember the ferry pulling away from the dock and just thinking there was something weird and distant about that. I didn't know what. She came back to Bloomington in the fall, and she'd met this guy at the ice cream parlor in Martha's Vineyard. Nothing had happened. We were still a couple. But by the holidays, she had Peter come and visit her at her parents' house. and then at her apartment in Bloomington. And the real warning sign, I suppose, was when I met him, and I was probably on his case because he was a high school dropout and worked leather goods or something, I don't know what. In fact, Shannon brought me back a wonderful, gorgeous belt carved with colors that I wore for like 10 years after that. Never knew where that was from. But I'm grilling him, and she's trying to get me away from that, but I see under the table her stocking foot reassuring him by pushing against his. And I knew that that was pretty much the end of the story, which it was. 10 years later, I see her at a reunion, and my heart still goes pit-a-pat, so much so that I knew that my marriage was missing something. Life unfolds. 20 years later, I was down doing a pilgrimage to Selma, where my father had marched when he was younger, and had a chance to visit Shannon at Hilton Head. And we didn't get together. We talked a little bit on the email about getting together, and then I just said, you know, we both made our decisions years ago, but it took me that long to let go.